Spartan Dog is up next. He said, what are your thoughts on Mel Tucker and where him and his Spartans are headed? Could they win a title in the next decade? I can tell my answer here is going to be different than yours. My answer is yes. I think Michigan State can win a national championship in the next decade. I think that because I think that there are things that are going to happen there under Mel Tucker that are irregular in historic nature. History has presented a certain set of limitations, if you will, that college football has placed on Michigan State as a program. And so I go back to the old Roger Bannister example all the time, but I'll do it again because I think it fits here. It used to just be understood that there were certain physical limitations on the human body, and there were things that we could maximally achieve, and then that was it. And one of those things was human beings are not capable of running a mile in under 4 minutes. It just can't happen. The absolute maximum peak potential of the human anatomy is such that you cannot break a 4-minute mile if you're a human. And then Roger Bannister did. And then people looked around and said, was the clock broken? What just happened? What happened was something that technically was capable of being done all along finally was done. Then guess what happened? Bunch of folks broke the 4-minute mile barrier. And so the age-old question, just like the Chinese bamboo, is it always possible, or did it just become possible that day? Well, with Michigan State, college football has convinced us that Michigan State can't get the caliber of athlete in East Lansing that it takes to compete with year in and year out the Alabamas and Ohio States and Clemsons of the world. They can't. Now, they may have a given year where they have a nice 10-2 record and they end up in Orlando on New Year's Day for the Citrus Bowl, the Verbo Citrus Bowl. But, let's be real. If they make the playoff, it's always going to be what it was in 2015. Well, that's the way it has been. But just because it has been doesn't mean it always has to be. And so with Mel Tucker, when he walked in the door, it's the strangest thing because it was the most inopportune time to have to make a head coaching hire. Remember when this happened, Mark D'Antonio, he retires, but he didn't do it in December. He did it well after the quote-unquote coaching carousel cycle had seemingly come and gone. And so everyone was panicked because they said, where are we going to go to get a coach? And they went and they started a bidding war for Mel Tucker, and they ended up paying him what a lot of people thought was way more than he was worth, which I always laugh at because the market is the market. What someone's willing to pay you is how much you're worth. That's the way it works. And so they went and got Mel Tucker. No one expected anything from him. No one. And I'm not sitting here claiming that we were the opposite. I'm not telling you that we held a parade here and said, just a matter of time now. But it doesn't really matter what anyone thinks. It matters what you're capable of. And I'm going to reiterate that now. It doesn't matter if people think Michigan State is or isn't capable of fill in the blank. If you know you're capable of it, that's all that matters. And so Mel Tucker, I'll tell you this, he is recruiting with an energy at Michigan State I've never seen anyone recruit with there. And it's like his hair is on fire, of which he has none. And I can relate. But it is a metaphor for a reason. They're pounding it up there. They're pounding the pavement. And they're trying to recruit nationally because they know they have to. But that's why it was so important for them to do what they did this past year. I was there. I was on the field when they beat Michigan. That was about so much more than beating Michigan. That was about announcing to the world with all the pregame shows in town and the spotlight on East Lansing that this is a place where you can come not just as a backup option, but as a premier option. You got offers from Ohio State? Come here anyway. You got offers from Clemson and Alabama? Think about coming here anyway. Because we got a pretty special thing going on up here, and it's only just begun. Had a really good conversation about Karen Carpenter and the Carpenters over on the Gig 'em 24/7 board the other day. We've only just begun. Tragic story. Good thread, tragic story. But they've only just begun at Michigan State right now. So who knows what they're capable of? I want you to think about this. Let's do the whole hypothetical thing again. Let's say Michigan State has a really good roster in place. And then let's say any given year, we enter December and January, transfer portal season, as it will be henceforth referred to as, and a Caleb Williams or a Quinn Ewers enters the transfer portal, and Mel Tucker lands him. All it takes is one time for that to happen, for an elite quarterback to choose to go to East Lansing and play for Mel Tucker. Very infectious personality. Everyone loves Mel Tucker. Players will all go over the cliff for him. If he attracts that kind of guy to play for an already pretty stocked cupboard otherwise. You watch and see. All it takes is 1 year. I remember for the longest time they said the same stuff about Clemson. There was actually Clemsoning as a pejorative term around college football. And then I don't start it with Taj Boyd, all due respect. When Deshaun Watson came in the door and faced one of the best defenses that you will ever see on the field for Alabama, he lost to him in 2015, but there you go. Clemson's already in a title game. Then they go the next year, and he gets helicoptered in the air by Reuben Foster, but they still win the national championship. That was all it took. That was all it took for Trevor Lawrence sitting at home watching. That was all it took. Because then Clemson's a destination. And just because the quarterbacks go there, then everyone else wants to go there too. My point is, that's not happening at this very moment with Michigan State. I think that you would be shocked at how much the fortune of that program could very well change with just one big quarterback acquisition. And it may happen this upcoming year, it may happen 2 years from now, but they're going to be good regardless. They're in a very good position regardless. But watch what happens. So you asked me over the next decade. If that happens over the next decade and the situation's right elsewhere, think about this past year. Where was the dominant team this past year? Georgia won a title with Stetson Bennett. There was no dominant team this past year. There was no unbeatable team this past year. I mean, Georgia themselves got smoked by Alabama and then turned the table on them a month later. But if Michigan State were to do that, and you had a year where it was kind of a toss-up, yeah, they could win a title. They absolutely could.